I love any panel that starts with a promotion. So thank you. That's kind of...
They didn't tell you?
No, but that's so sweet of you.
We're supposed to celebrate now. So everyone, a big round of applause for Wendy's big promotion. Yeah, that was the one thing I didn't write down. I'm like, it's in my head, but then it wasn't. Anyway, so obviously, as I started off, you guys are really trying to establish yourselves as this, niche market in terms of really get these trendsetters, and doing it with fashion is as an amazing way to do this. So talk initially about when you were first launching, what you were looking for, what type of messaging you were trying to get across.
Yeah, so for those of you who are not familiar, which many still aren't, it's our number one mission in life is to raise brand awareness. Genesis is a new luxury brand as part of the Hyundai Motor Group, and we've only been around for 6 years. So we really are a very new brand competing against luxury automotive makes that have been around for a century, right? So I think our mission in life is really to try to find new customers and introduce ourselves. We find that if we can connect with people in a way that's meaningful, that the product is really good and their chance of considering us is very high. We just need to introduce ourselves. So our mission has been to really find audiences that are looking for a different kind of luxury brand, and G90 as a product that came into the market starting in August is our Halo sedan. So we suddenly, for the first time, we're going to launch a vehicle that was $100,000 and really the pinnacle of luxury. So we saw that as an opportunity to introduce ourselves in a way that was particularly high in style.
Well, and even as you said, you're looking for that different, that trendsetter. Is that your way of sort of differentiating yourself as well as part of with the G90, and what role does that play in terms of as you continue to let people know about Genesis?
One of the things that I think is always a struggle, I'm sure, for all of the folks working at auto companies in the room is how to introduce your automotive brand to people who don't naturally care about cars. Because as much as it hurts all of our feelings, not everyone, lives and breathes by car launches. And so I think we've spent a lot of time really getting to know our customer and trying to understand what makes them tick and what are their passion points, and how can we, in a way that's authentic, intersect with those passion points. So we dug into our target customer and found that fashion was one of those things that they really gravitated to, and that they are the kind of people who like to set their own personal style and follow the latest trends, but don't necessarily need to be in them. They want to create their own fashion. And so we really wanted to find this opportunity to intersect our most beautiful, most artfully designed vehicle, the Genesis G90, with the best of design and fashion and that passion point for these customers, and use that as a medium to really connect.
Well, and so obviously, so we know the directive there, and then your partnership then with Vogue. How did that all come about?
Yeah, well, if you realize that your customers love fashion, there's really no other title in the world that's as iconic as Vogue. And so I think we really saw an opportunity, not just from the validation and the natural affinity that our target audience would probably have with a publication like Vogue, but also the opportunity to connect in a way that was meaningful and disruptive. We're a new brand. We are always trying to be very original and not follow the traditional playbooks. So we'd started, and when I say we, there's a fantastic group of my team in the room and our agency partners who helped this all come together, including Mark from Vogue right here in the front. So we approached them. We wanted to do Fashion Week, but a lot of other car companies have done Fashion Week. And so the question was, how do you do Fashion Week that's different? And how do we do it in a way that's meaningful? And we just so happened to be launching our new flagship sedan at a time when Vogue wanted to host their very first fashion show during Fashion Week. Instead of just reporting on other people's shows, they were going to do a live stream and bring a celebration of fashion to the world. And so it seemed like a match made in heaven to find a unique way in.
Well, and so when you go into that, and it's their first time doing the show, so obviously this is your first time being involved in a fashion show. So talk about just getting that started and how, and then, what type of response did you see from people?
You know, we really wanted to make sure that we weren't just walking into fashion and slapping a logo on it, or making the middle of the Vogue look like it was just a car ad, a traditional car ad. So you can see our Don't Buy Into Legacy, Build One. This was the beginning of the creative campaign that inspired, and the idea was to really make sure that what we created was a campaign that was very contextual. Our friends at Enocean worked really hard to work with photographers and artists and models who were authentically in the fashion space, to make sure that when you were flipping through the pages of Vogue, that it actually looked like it belonged there, and it wasn't like, and here's a boring car ad and we continue, you know. And I think we really achieved that both in the out-of-home applications like this one, as well as the as the print applications.
And well, I mean, it definitely says high fashion, which obviously luxury, that's what we're looking for. So it's beautiful. In terms of when you were sort of getting the campaign going, you talk about your target audience, and then you talk about obviously aligning with Vogue. So how much of that creative came after, before? Like, what was the sort of I guess, horse before the cart, cart before the horse kind of thing?
You know, we have a joke at Genesis about Genesis time being 3 times faster than everywhere else. I think this is my 4th car company and maybe 6th or 7th brand that I've been privileged to work for. Everything is faster at Genesis. It's just because we're a startup. We're really in startup mode. There's just not the teams being built. We're launching cars. Just to give you a sense of scale, I've been on the job for 7 months. We've launched 4 new cars, or at least introduced 4 new cars and 2 concepts in 7 months' time. Only one of that was the G90. So the cart before the horse is kind of a comical question, only because it all came together very quickly. But I think when you strike a chord that really feels right, it comes together. It comes together really well. I would like to, if I could, we wanted to really celebrate the sale of the first G90 and the moment that we were going to announce this partnership with Vogue in a way that was really authentic. And so we started in August at the Genesis House, which is, for those not familiar, a beautiful 3-story brand oasis in the middle of New York. And we brought in very fashionable people and some key designers that we wanted to partner with during Fashion Week, and some storied editors from Vogue to really celebrate the launch of the first G90. So if you'll pardon the pause for the video, why don't we just actually play you a little bit about what that night looked like. Tonight is a recognition of those who are making their mark on the world, blazing new trails, setting new trends through their passion and vision, and certainly for those who like to arrive in style.
It is my absolute honor to introduce you to the all-new Genesis G90.
The G90 is the flagship of the Genesis brand, and as such, it's the pinnacle of luxury.
And here tonight from Vogue to join our conversation on fashion and design is contributing editor Lynn Yeager.
I look for a certain kind of originality, a certain kind of fierce creativity.
Now, as we began investigating the world of fashion, we almost immediately recognized one label that stood out from the rest, none other than Monse. It is my pleasure to introduce Laura Kim and Fernando Garcia, co-creators and directors of Monse, and Oscar de la Renta to the stage.
Being yourself, being able to be yourself is like the most luxurious thing.
When you are able to express who you are outside of the stereotypical frames.
Very cool. Definitely. Was that you on stage talking?
Yeah.
Love the whole red shoe and
Thank
that.
you.
It was you fit right in.
One of the fashion brands we partnered with in addition to Vogue was Monse, which you probably saw. Laura Kim is of Korean descent and part of the Monse partnership, and so we all tried to represent in Monse. And when she had their Fashion Week moment a month later, they all arrived in G90s, and we were able to capture some great social of our vehicles connected with their show in addition to the Vogue show in September.
Yeah, And that's awesome because, I mean, in terms of creating that excitement, I mean, obviously just looking at that it generates it there, but how do you continue that on? How are you talked about that now with with that event and then on social. So is this something you keep building on and it's not just a, one and done kind of thing?
Yeah, no, it started in August and then we continued that for the next few months. This is a great example. This is what the actual print ad in Vogue looked like. It started with this one page that said, "Don't tread lightly." And then if we can click through, make your mark. And I don't know if you can tell, but in the middle of her very beautiful, expensive boots is a QR code. And one of the things because I think we all come to these to learn some things that worked. One of the things that worked really well for us was that QR code went straight to our website. And so from the minute the September fashion issue of Vogue appeared, we started seeing real increases in our traffic straight to the .com. We did a social media takeover where we wiped the entire Instagram account clear. In fact, I won't name names, but she's in the room. One of my dear colleagues didn't realize we were going to do this. We had forgotten to tell everyone, I guess, and she sent me a panic like, "Oh my God, something's wrong with the Instagram," because we cleared it and then filled it with all G90 and fashion-related content for the next 2 months to really try to be meaningful and contextual to what was happening. And then the complement to that was out of home. So we went to the really high fashion areas of both New York and Los Angeles, and you could see digital and static billboards across in those kind of key shopping areas and where we felt like the high fashion folks would be. And I got lots of cell phone pictures from people who saw them as they passed, and lots of really positive response from that.
And then the crash afterwards when they're driving and taking the picture.
Yeah, exactly. Thankfully, they were all in malls,
yes.
stationary. Yeah.
No, I mean, these are great. And so what about it in terms of, because you have these sort of fashion celebrities who are part of it and not even necessarily through you in terms of they showed up at it and they're sharing it. Were you able to leverage any of that chatter in terms of all the social channels?
Absolutely. I mean, our social performance over the last 2 months has really been way above our expectations. And in part, I think, whenever you're new and you're trying to introduce yourselves, one of the most powerful mediums is if you have a friend who tells you about, hey, I found this great car company, So being able to leverage both earned and paid influencers, partnerships like Monse, like Vogue, to help introduce ourselves to a new audience really was very impactful for us in seeing new followers come, new social activity, and our, for example, when the Vogue fashion show itself took place in September, our traffic to our site went up 58%. I mean, it was stunning how much the direct line from the campaign right into the website really drove impact.
What about, so you showed us digital out of home, obviously social, any other channels what was part of your mix?
I was going to say this is probably the other part of the mix. Honestly, we did this whole campaign without television, which I think is really kind of fun.
For a car company, our automobile company, that is very unique.
Radical, right? No, we did have a TVC which we can share, but we used it all as digital video, and in fact, this is what when Vogue went live with their fashion show, we did a takeover of their homepage, and the minute you clicked onto the site, or as you were clicking through to watch, Serena Williams and Lil Nas and all the amazing people walk down there through the live coverage, there was intermittent creative from Genesis that made it clear who provided it. But this, our view rate on the Vogue takeover was close to 60%, which I thought was really extraordinary. I mean, I always get excited for numbers much lower than that. So I think, Joss, can we go ahead and cue the TVC that did go with it?
What inspires you? What drives you? What pushes you to stop putting the past on a pedestal? You can either buy into legacy or build your own.
So there you can get a sense of the, oh, thanks, biased opinions in the crowd.
Well, and it definitely, the tagline is go so much into what you're saying. Like, don't follow what everyone's doing, build your own. So yeah. I love the way you incorporate that. And I mean, obviously, did you plan that? No.
A little.
just happened to notice it.
Tripped into it.
Yeah, really. So talk about this. What are we seeing in front of us now?
This is an example of the Vogue World fashion show when it went live, which really was a huge moment for the team at Vogue. It was their first time doing a live fashion show, and as you can see, as you were clicking through their social, this is the reels. Or the stories, I guess it would be. So every so often you would see our creative pop up. It both started and ended and then was kind of midstream. But the social performance of getting to see the amazing people they had walking for the show. And really what I found to be a wonderful collaboration of kind of spirit is Vogue's doing some tremendous things with diversity and inclusion and the celebration of people of all shapes and sizes and walks of life through their show was so joyous and so inspiring. And it's very much, I think, as a young car brand, we're really looking to connect with multicultural customers in particular and women and find customers that maybe feel like traditional automotive luxury brands have not spoken to them in a way that was authentic in the past. And so it really was a powerful intersection for us to see both the work that Vogue is doing and how they're transforming their brand despite being, it's over a century old, isn't it? 130 years, something like that. But to make it felt so young and fresh and relevant and so in keeping with where we want to take Genesis. It really was a beautiful moment.
Well, so that teaches you in 130 years when you're still pushing Genesis that you're going to keep it young and youthful.
Right, exactly. Reinventions can happen,
Yes,
and they're very impressive when you see it.
Definitely. Well, we're seeing all of, obviously with going to fashion shows like a Vogue, and you're going to have all these influencers who are going to be able to be a part of what Genesis is trying to show. But we heard a little bit about celebrity partnerships. Is there a representative or someone that maybe you don't have someone in specific at this point, but who would that person be to represent Genesis right now?
The brand is about embracing originality, and so I struggle to put one name or one face to who we are. I think we really want to celebrate those and a lot of people who are out, making their own mark, doing their own thing, creating their own legacy, people who are out looking at the world and hustling to just make it theirs. And so I don't see us as a brand having one iconic person, but rather a celebration of all people who believe in the same sort of ethos that we do, which is, that to be audacious enough to launch a new car brand and rethink the way we do luxury as car companies in 2022. That's who we're looking for. So we've had some great FOGs, friends of Genesis, that we've picked up along the way, influencers that we've worked with, that we've brought in to celebrate with us and to make the moment special. But I think I'm more interested in building a community of influential people that really speak and share our brand values than maybe just one iconic human.
So do you see social as one of your main media, a part of your media buy, or even whether it's earned or paid, as far as, not that you won't go TV and other avenues, but do you see that as the big part of it?
Absolutely. I mean, I think if you're trying to find a younger customer, with all of the statistics about cord cutting and the move to streaming, I feel like social is your opportunity in the middle of the workday to connect with a customer when they certainly shouldn't be streaming Hulu or Netflix. Or, not that there's not wonderful opportunities for that in the evenings, but I do think social is a very, very powerful medium and will be important for us as well as any brand that's trying to reach a younger customer and people who are out there busy hustling. If you're trying to connect with people who are starting their own businesses and artists and creators, they don't have a lot of time to sit still. So we got to catch them on the fly, and I think social is a powerful way to do that.
Yeah, we have the little Snapchats of things, and then I don't mean chat, but just in terms of just the video, especially, people are just like rolling through it. I mean, TikTok is a perfect example. So it's definitely key to it. Obviously, you guys you saw so much impact with this. Are there any results that you can share from this campaign with us?
Yeah, I'm thrilled to say that this really was an attempt at doing something very disruptive and different for us, and the results exceeded our expectations across all metrics. Our .com performance, our social performance, the impact of participating with Vogue in their inaugural live fashion show. I mean, we doubled the impressions that we were expecting. We had 6 times the video views. I mean, it was just exceeding expectations across the board. And it was really neat for me. What I thought was most impactful, and perhaps if I had something I think we can all learn from it, it was the intersection of all of it all together. It wasn't any one piece of the puzzle. It really was that combination of, I saw the moment that the campaign began with the kickoff, influencer event, and then I saw the billboard, and then I opened Vogue. It was Serena Williams edition, and saw the ad, and I clicked through to social. Like, it was, for me, what was really most powerful was seeing how all of these connected pieces could create a real 360-degree statement about G90 and the brand and bring people into our ecosystem.
Well, and it sounds like it was a very seamless experience. That's really what the goal is, in terms of you can't just click and then be held up, and it just brings you from one to the next. Talk about, you mentioned that as more of one of your biggest learnings, but what is next for Genesis? And before you start, think of questions for us, because I will open it up as soon as we get to here, but I do want to hear what's next.
Certainly we are in the process of building our own legacy. I think the brand is on quite the transformation. We've done a lot of work to really clarify who we are, so I think next year will be a big year for us. In addition to G90 as a new flagship, we've launched 4 electric vehicles this year. So next year is really going to be the time that we begin to really, in earnest, transform ourselves from a mostly ICE vehicle company to a mix of ICE and EVs on our path to pure EVs. So I think we will definitely be doing a lot of that in the coming years. But I think we will also really be leaning into what are the authentic passion points that we can stand for as a brand. So, for example, I think we've found with our high designed vehicles a passion point that we're very happy with in fashion, and that one being effective. The Genesis House has a Michelin star restaurant, and hospitality is one of our is core to the brand. So I think there's a real opportunities for us in food, and the Genesis Invitational happens here in California every February, which is a big PGA tournament. So, and golf is crazy important to Korean culture. So I think the fairways golf will be important for us, passion points wise. So we'll continue to really build on those lifestyle elements like we did with Fashion Week, and see how we can continue to introduce ourselves to new customers and work on that brand awareness.
I know I promised you guys could ask next, but I have one more little. Because when you mentioned launching the EVs, do you see that you can keep with the same kind of messaging? You think it'll be the same crowd, it doesn't have to change up that much?
One of the things we've strategically really done intentionally is not to create like an offshoot brand or even naming structure for EVs. It really is, it's all just who Genesis is, So to me, because by 2025, all new vehicles introduced will be electric. So Genesis will be an EV brand in a matter of a few years. And so the message is the same, And I think we're at a cool place for EVs in the sense that it doesn't have to be remarkable anymore that you drive an electric vehicle. It can really just be a powertrain choice. Our electrified GV70, for example, you can get in either ICE or EV. Our electrified G80 the same. So I think we're getting to a place where the brand is the brand, and electrified is a choice on how you want to drive it, And that's how we'll try to build it.
Got it. Okay, now I will let you guys ask. Any questions for Wendy?
I have a question. A little bird told me that the fashion show we saw in New York that was so fabulous that Vogue is going to be doing that in other cities. So would that be something, is the partnership going to continue? Or do you think you could, I know.
Mark's in the room, so I can't. Earphones. No, we are still deciding what the 2023 budget looks like. But yes, they were so happy with the show that it will be. I've heard that same bird say the same thing. I certainly think there's potential for us to continue the partnership in the future.
So fashion is going to continue to be
absolutely
one of your
design is one of the core pieces of our DNA. So it just fits so naturally that if you really love style and design, that Genesis will speak to you.
Any other questions for Wendy? Oh, here we go. She's really nice. Don't be intimidated.
I was going to say, I promise I don't bite.
Gina from Cars.com. Hi.
Hi.
I noticed that you mentioned the QR code worked in the print version. Did you try running that across other mediums and see if it works? And did it or did not?
It's funny you should ask that because I'm looking at my team. I basically told them to put a QR code on everything going forward. So I don't know yet, but we're about to try. I think COVID taught everyone to start using QR codes so much more. I mean, I feel like a decade ago, someone was like, look, you can put a QR code on something. And it seemed too weird and intrusive for people. But now I think the world is just different. And that opportunity to take them from seeing a car on a display and bounce straight into your website. I mean, forget them having to ever go search you. It just goes right in to like, here's the page and the information you need. That's crazy powerful. So we haven't tried it yet in other places, but seeing the success here, I certainly think we will.
I'm actually a little surprised because with other brands I've been speaking with at different industries, CPG say, they haven't found as much success. So I'm wondering if it's maybe when you're talking like an automobile and like a luxury brand, then that might be, and I could be wrong, there could, every brand marketer might come in and say, no, it's working for me, but I just have heard a few, it's been a little bit 50-50. It seems like there's some positive, but this is great that maybe it is maybe something in the sense of it's a higher luxury and you're looking, it's a different type of what you're purchasing.
Well, I mean, the research you would do on a tube of toothpaste is different than the research you would do on a $100,000 luxury car.
Really?
I would guess. So
You don't
I
market
think
the
just
same
in
way?
general, when you're buying a car, you're going to go to the website, and there's some products that I don't know that I would bother to go to the website. I just glance on Instagram and call it good. So in our industry, at least, I think it's a powerful way to get people more information.
I'm agree.
Hi.
Hi.
John Rose from the New York Times. Congratulations on the great campaign. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about the way that Genesis House and Genesis the brand are working together and how important those in real life experiences are going to continue to be.
I think in real life experiences and opportunities to bring people to the brand and let them actually have a tactile experience with your brand are super important. In the sense that not everyone can afford a Genesis, but you could come in and you could have a cup of tea. You can actually just, anytime you're in New York, stop by the Meatpacking District, go to Genesis House. They have very fast Wi-Fi, and it's free. But for real, you can walk in and the architecture was so intentionally chosen. Every plank of wood, every shade of copper in the elevator, everything about that place is a reflection and a very intentional reflection of the design ethos of the brand. And so you, just by visiting, which again, completely free, I think you really get a different appreciation for what the brand is all about. And we're a very proud South Korean company, and it's also a real celebration of our South Korean heritage. The Michelin star restaurant that's upstairs is all serves traditional Korean food and is really meant to be an oasis to the city and an opportunity to really let people see and touch and feel and interact with the brand in a more intimate way. And I think that's really powerful, particularly in today's kind of surface society. I think as we try to make brands that have more meaning, if I can have you get a taste of what Genesis is all about, then that's something powerful. I think that sticks in the brain in a different way.
Anybody else? Going once, going twice. Wendy, thank you so much.
Anytime. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. You were awesome.
Appreciate you being here. Thank you.